Hello, my friends. I think it's quite obvious that even just watching this video, you know that I have relocated to London. But I'm not an immigrant as such because I'm like coming home because it was in the late 80s that I started in the very beginning of my career working and living in London as just an ordinary local person. A lot of people moved overseas and worked there. Sometimes you have to move down a level. Sometimes you would be lucky enough to move up a level. At the time in the 80s when the finance market was booming, Westerners, when they moved to the Far East, they move up a level, especially even in Japan, in Tokyo. In those days, I would also work in Tokyo after London. And you see the expatriates, they had housing, they had high social status, such and such. When I was in the beginning of that decade, when I was in Germany, the guest workers from Turkey working in Germany, they were looked down by the local people. So once you move away from where you from your home country and start working in a foreign environment, it's seldom that you move totally horizontally. But that was exactly my experience when I moved from Hong Kong to London, because I was a local, ordinary, young, I would say almost like a trainee when I started my banking career in Hong Kong. When I moved to London, I was just one of the local boys, not higher, not lower, but totally assimilated to the London community. The reason why we could do that was because in British Hong Kong, we were very much, without knowing it, bringing up in a very British culture. And then, I mean, as you may be aware of, that I have written a book on the history of Hong Kong. What I have discovered is that without Britain or the British Empire, the Victorian days, I mean, the highest point of the empire, actually, that actually coincide with the birth of Hong Kong. Without Britain, there would have been no Hong Kong. Hong Kong was part of the whole British idea, existence, culture, and everything. Without the overseas territories, whether you call it an empire or not, there would not have been a Britain. So the whole thing is part and parcel with each other. But of course, after 1997, everything changed. But now, coming back to London, again, after 4 decades, after half a lifetime, I have to get used to this place. But it's like coming home. I believe that you cannot find the same feelings if you move to Australia, Canada, or New Zealand or elsewhere. So I welcome myself back. I would look at things differently. Everything would be different. You know, everything changes. But once you move from one place to another and you start living, working there, and then your thinking, your mentality, everything changes. So I would use London as the base, not England as such, but London as a base to observe the world, to analyze the world situation and everything and so on and so forth. And the first thing I want to talk about very briefly is that when I arrived, a lot of people were talking about Ukraine, and but I've been observing in the last few years since the 2014, the upheavals in Ukraine and the change of the government and the role that the EU and America played in this whole thing, wrestling with Putin. I can assure you, there would be no war. There would be no war. Everyone was bluffing. The only obvious fact is that with the change of the administration to a Biden administration, the whole world knows America is now weak and everyone would exploit its weakness. There is not a single person who's competent in this administration, okay? Especially a guy like Blinken, apart from spending time on the Spotify, he did nothing. He put a lot of posts on the social media with a lot of empty words. And the whole world knows America has no strength. And the whole world would exploit the weakness of America. And this is the painful reality. And because of that, Putin knows what he's doing. He doesn't have to go to war to get what he wants. Okay, so this is all for today. And stay tuned. I will try as much as possible to do my broadcast in English, while at the same time I keep my Cantonese programs. Thank you.